Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to a special late night holiday edition of Hot Pot Talks. My name is Jen Sungshine, here with my dear friend and long-term creative partner, David Ng, and together we are the co-artistic directors of Love Intersections, a media arts collective that produces intersectional and intergenerational film and artwork from underrepresented communities of color, centering the invisible, the playful, the spiritual, the metaphysical, and the imaginary. We're also members of the Vancouver Artists Labor Union Cooperative, also known as VALU CO-OP. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that we are gathered here today from the unceded and ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. Part of our work as labor activists and queer artists on unceded territories means working in solidarity with ongoing Indigenous struggles for sovereignty, decolonization, reparations, and land back. Hot Pot Talks is a live streaming series where we have free-flowing conversations with artists, activists, chefs, drag performers, poets, community organizers about what it means to be an artist facing today's realities, what ethical responsibilities do we have as artists, and this season we continue these conversations on topics ranging from anti-Asian racism, BIPOC futurity, Chinatown solidarity, diasporic food cultures, and interrogating the boundaries between everyday activism, fine art, and cultural work.
So why Hot Pot Talks? So it's been a couple months. We've been on hiatus since August. So just a little bit of background. VALU Co-op is located in the Lim Sai Hor Khao Mok Society building in Vancouver's Chinatown. And when VALU Co-op moved into Chinatown, and we were really recognizing and thinking about the ways that artists have contributed to gentrification, we had really long conversations about how we could be proactive and generative in building reciprocal relationships in the community. So over the past 2 years, we've been collaborating with the Lim Association on a project called Engaging Chinatown, where we are digitizing their archives and creating artworks to connect the broader community to issues connected to Chinatown. Today, we have a very special holiday episode, and it grows from a recent collaboration with Elisa Yon, founder of the Mao Calendar, which is this really beautiful Chinatown-themed calendar, which Jen and I are really excited to be a part of. We're going to be talking a lot about this today. But yeah, a little bit of background about the Mao Calendar. The Mao Calendar, which Mao stands for Makers Artists United, is a long-term artist-initiated project that aims to reimagine the way souvenirs function as objects and as vehicles to examine lesser-known local histories, cultural identities, and issues affecting the future of Vancouver's Chinatown. Now in its fourth year, the 2022 Mao Calendar continues to capture a contemporary portrait of the community while showcasing the work of local artists, community members, social service organizations, and businesses. This year, VALU Co-op took over the Mao Calendar from founder Elisa Yon to carry on the future of this beloved project. Yeah, so before we introduce our guests, I wanted to thank our incredible team, Ava, Cameron, and Lamia, who help make Hot Pot Talks a reality. So today we're really excited to introduce our guests this evening. Dickson and Pearl are Hong Kong-born, longtime Vancouverites. Together and separately, they have been championing community and culture here in Vancouver. Dickson through cooking and feeding loved ones. Pearl through creating District Local as a passion project. Dicky's Dumps was conceived at a district local-run Lunar New Year event in 2018, celebrating Chinese heritage while bringing the community together and sharing the culture in a fun way with those who may or may not have grown up with it. Their small batch handmade frozen dumplings continue to delight dumpling connoisseurs, rooted in tradition and guided by their unwavering appetites. To order, visit dickysdumps.com and follow Dicky's Dumps and District Local.
Welcome.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends. How are you doing tonight? Thanks for joining the virtual Hot Pot table.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I thought, why don't we start? When we spoke a couple days ago, well, actually, the first time we spoke, Pearl, you mentioned that Dickson loves hot pot. So we thought, why don't we start with hot pot? And maybe we can all share. I'm curious, what's your favorite thing about hot pot? Your favorite hot pot dipping sauce?
I'll tell you my impression of Dickson's love for hot pot. Because obviously we all grew up with hot pot in our households with our families. but I never knew the unwavering love for hot pot until I started, having life with this person. And like literally, he's like the mobile hot pot man. Like he has a kit, like a built kit that goes wherever he wants to take it. So this means even if we've gone on like romantic getaways, like to a hotel that doesn't have a kitchenette,
Oh my
go kill
God.
the hoteliers, but we'll hot pot in the hotel room.
Oh my God.
Like
That's
we'll
incredible.
like, shove the nightstands together and then makeshift hot pots.
That
So-
is true dedication to the craft of hot pot. Like I've never seen this commitment.
There's water. There's water. There's a table. What else? Do you
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, my mom once, when we were very young, brought a rice cooker to Edmonton,
Oh my
and
God.
we did make rice in the hotel. But hot pot, wow, that is dedication.
It seriously is.
I mean, why not though, right? Like,
Yeah.
do you want to be stuck at like eating hotel food? Not really. Like, there's a time and a place for room service, but most of those time and places are replaced by hot pot. So there
Yeah,
you go.
amazing.
Yeah.
What, Dickson? You were mentioning the other day something about hot pot sauces. Like, there's
Yeah.
something about like in people's individual like tastes. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about that?
No, I just find it very interesting when like you get a group of friends going hot pot. You always kind of like pay attention to what their sauce mix is,
Yeah.
and it tells a little bit about that person, just like a little bit, see what the taste is like. And I guess like my mix is just over all the years, kind of like seeing what my parents do, what my parents' friends do, what my friends do, and it just kind of like comes together. So when we do our hot pot, there's always going to be the sacha, which is like like the tiny
silver tin.
silver tin. That's very
Of course, we have the big.
Yeah.
Of course.
go through that, right? So that's very key. Some sort of soy, right? Sesame oil, some sort of chili oil. The spicier, the better. Sriracha optional, and there got to be always some sort of either cilantro. Actually, no, cilantro is very key. Cilantro is very key. I don't care what people say about
cilantro
if you like cilantro or not. If you don't like cilantro, you might not be my friend. So
now, is there a difference between like Western cilantro or like Chinese cilantro? Because my parents only eat Chinese cilantro, and I, for the longest time, had no idea there was a major like difference between.
Oh, you mean like parsley versus cilantro?
No, like Chinese cilantro, it's different. I think it's like stemmier. Yeah.
Oh.
I actually don't even know there's Western cilantro, but I'm pretty sure it still tastes pretty good.
It's still, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
The biggest difference for me where we go like this is that he has to put a raw egg in it. He puts a raw egg to it.
Oh, Dickson, we would get along.
I can't do it. Like it's a textural thing for me.
David.
Yeah.
I love
raw
egg. I love the raw egg, and my partner's always just like, okay, we're gonna have salmonella one day, but knock on wood, it has.
Whatever, everything's boiled in your stomach. It's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, like the whole raw egg thing. I think that I don't know. Not correct me when I'm wrong, but like when the Japanese eat their sukiyaki or eat the nabe, they always have a bowl of like egg with their sauce, and what I was told was, hey, this egg cools down your hot piping piece of meat, and it coats it with the sauce, because I beat the egg into the sauce, right? It just becomes like nice thick mixture.
Oh.
I feel like if you like go down that road a little bit further, it's like cools down the yeet-hayness of the hot pot.
Yes.
So
you're not just like scalding your throat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it adds a bit of like almost like a smoother texture too. Like sometimes you overcook a piece of meat, like that egg coats it, and it's all kosher. So that's my sauce philosophy. But you could like there's no right or wrong way to do it, right?
No, I mean that's the beauty of hot pot, because like it is so family friendly. Like now we do it with my niece and nephew, who as kids they're definitely like more selective of what they'll put or eat. So their sauce, like my niece might only have soy sauce and like one other thing, and I'm like, Are you sure that's all you want? You know, there's like a whole buffet of sauces or whatever. But yeah, so it is. I like to each their own, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because David and I, because of hosting this series, it's the consistent question we ask our guests, which is, what is your favorite hot pot experience or story or ingredient? And it doesn't matter where you're from, even if we're from the same place, everyone has such a different kind of story or connection to hot pot. And Dave and I found this out too when we were comparing our hot pot back like stories. Hot pot, because I was born in Taiwan, so I grew up for about 9 years in Taiwan, and hot pot is something we eat all year round. Like, in fact, in the summer, it's like it cancels out the heat of the summer in a lot of ways. So there's like, it's just consumed all year round. And I think, David, you had like a different hot pot experience growing up too.
Yeah, well, for my parents, it was like it was just a lot of work, right? Because I think people think that it's simple. You're just like, you don't need to do any cooking, but there's a lot of prep that goes into like preparing it. But my introduction was really like when I went to high school, and then my friends introducing it to me, and I was like, what is this fantastic thing? And then since then, it's been like, yeah, I'm also a diehard hot pot fan. I'm curious, Jen, when Jen and I were talking about this episode, I'm also when I was on the district local website, for example, there's lots of features of food, and so I wanted to kind of get into that. Maybe a question that I had was, I was reflecting on sort of I guess you could say like the acceptance or mainstream of a lot of Asian cuisine over the past, I don't know, since I can remember, it's just like I was saying to Jen earlier today, like I think when I was in high school, I couldn't imagine like white people at a hot pot restaurant. It's just I'd never seen that before, but it's becoming more and more commonplace where every single guest that we've had on Hot Pot Talks, and we've really, really diverse and different backgrounds, has had a hot pot experience. I'm curious.
Same with like other things though, like not just hot pot or like Asian cuisine, but like even something like boba, bubble tea.
Right.
In high school, and this is like, early 2000, this like we it would be like a joke where we would give like our white friends like a boba, and then they'd be like, what is this? And then I actually remember going to volleyball tournament, and then we're all drinking boba, and this white guy was just spitting out the tapioca balls like out the window. It was really gross. So just it was like bordering on racist, but like not quite. Like, I'm not quite sure. But now it's just so mainstream and it's so widely accepted.
Yeah, so I'm curious. Have you seen like have you seen that sort of shift in terms of what what new restaurants are coming up? What's been your sort of observation of that food culture?
Yeah, I've been running district local loosely 10 years now. And even in that 10 years, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Where I feel like it's not even a doubt now that like all these diverse cuisines, and even like regional within that, obviously, right, within Chinese food, is just, it's like the exciting thing, and it's like widely accepted. Whereas like I feel like 10 years ago, I was posting mainly about like, where can we get the best brunch?
Right.
Yeah. Like, where's the most exciting brunch spot? And the like cocktail culture, like, so it was still very like mainstream.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas now it's way more diverse, I think.
Yeah. I'm just curious because my partner and I, we love eating out. What have there been new foods or restaurants or food trucks or things that have come up that you've come across that are exciting?
I mean, I think especially after these 2 years of weirdness and not going out to eat, now that we are coming back out to eat, that's just added another layer of excitement for me personally. I think, and I feel that when we go out to try new restaurants now, I feel like there is a new like buzz of just like wanting to go out and like experience. So that in itself, just like the dining experience itself is exciting again, which is great. I think one that sticks out for me recently is Tasty Barbecue. just because that's new to me, but it also feels yet so familiar at the same time because it immediately feels like you're in the middle of Asia, like in the thick of it. But the food, like the flavors, like they're kind of like new and exciting.
The
it's like
ambient and like the vibe.
Yeah.
We kind of rolled in there with, like not much expectations, kind of like, okay, let's check the spot. And it was like pretty much off the cuff, right? And it was a random weeknight, like closer to 8:30, 9, and the place was popping. It was going on.
Yeah,
this is not too long ago.
The chatter, the like energy level just felt like you're in Asia.
And basically what it is it's kind of like the Chinese skewers, right? There's skewers, there's, like the small dishes, there's familiar dishes that you're familiar with, there's dishes that are kind of new, and it's almost like pan China a little bit.
Well, I mean, the vibe, I feel like the closest we can liken it to is like izakaya, but like Chinese izakaya, because like it's a lot of like a lot of beer menu, like a huge beer menu, and like I feel like it's a lot of snacks that pair well with beer. So it was really fun. I think it is a great like late night spot.
And then all these crazy neon signs in there.
Cool.
So go give them a check out.
Casey Barbecue.
That's kind of similar to some of the places that have been popping in the last, like 5-6 years with the influx of, mainland China influence, right? There's like the Happy Treehouse Barbecue. There's, like the meetup, like things like that, where we're getting much more regional Chinese food, which is still pretty new to a lot of, I say, like the Vancouver mainstream diners. You kind of have to like have someone take you, like you have to have it in. Yeah. Where there's like a Chinese friend or people that been. So there's a lot of those popping up. That's been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's exciting. And obviously, like, we're pretty adventurous and always wanted to try new things. So it's really exciting to see like more diversity in terms of like more Persian food, like Afghan food, like all of these like
Caribbean food.
That's Caribbean food. That's really exciting. Yeah, there's room for a lot more.
Yeah.
David,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just getting, because I want one of my favorite questions to ask our guests is about their childhood experiences. So I actually I'm jumping ahead, David. I know we had other questions planned, but I'm just so curious about. Well, I want to know how you two met, but also individually, what your experience was like growing up, and what where did you grow up, and what that experience was like. What was your childhood like?
I'll go first because we're both from Hong Kong, but I came in the early 80s when I was 3. And I feel like that's quite a different experience than Dickson coming in the 90s when he was a little bit older.
Yeah.
Because consciously my parents made the decision for us to really integrate as quickly as possible. They didn't want us to be like in any ESL classes. So we were encouraged to speak English at home only, actually. Wow. So that was definitely like a huge, like really I have to like come all the way full circle back to like my roots now with all the things that we're doing. Just because like growing up here, we were just like, okay, let's just be as Canadian as we can, whatever that meant,
Then for me, I was part of that 90s immigrant wave. It was mainly a lot of people moving from Hong Kong, from Taiwan. And when I first moved, I was around 8 at that time. And everything was new to me here. So it was pretty exciting. And also in terms of, I've gone through a few years of school in Hong Kong, and the pressure on, like schooling over in Asia, is like next level, right? So when I first came here, it was really like great. I got into grade 4, and there's no homework. It's like it's play, and it's kind of like I go home, and my parents like, so is there homework? I'm like, no. They told me go play. Like it's kind of like that. So I really kind of enjoy that, and it's like learning new things, kind of like playing hockey. Like ice skating, things like that. And my parents, one thing that they did do though is they forced me to go to Chinese school.
Mhm.
Oh,
At it, I'm really glad they did because I still can speak fluent Cantonese and read and write and conversational Mandarin. And
Mhm.
but at that time, I hated it because it was every
of
Saturday.
course.
Every
Yeah.
Saturday, it's Chinatown, and then they also pushed me into going in scouts too. So
Oh,
I
wow.
Oh.
was a scout for many years, 10 plus, and I the love of food kind of stemmed from that a little bit too, from actually being
Mhm.
in scouts. So yeah, like so my experience is definitely very different from Pearl's because I didn't experience any say like explicit racism because where I grew up, East Van, it's actually mostly East Asians,
Yeah.
Indian, and the Caucasians, very few. So like you feel kind of at home a little bit, but you still have to communicate through English.
Right.
Yeah.
And also growing up too, I picked up skateboarding and snowboarding, and that was kind of a big part of my life too. So I kind of learned how to navigate through that
Mhm.
world where you're kind of like the odd person out,
Mhm.
but still kind of maintaining like I could slide in and out of both worlds. If that kind of makes sense a little bit.
Mhm.
I think you're given a lot more leeway as a dude.
Yeah,
Yes.
probably. I
You
would-
know, it's
Yes.
different growing up as like just like a quiet, because I was also a quiet, shy, like all the stereotypes that you don't want to have, you want to break apart, but unfortunately that's who I was.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
like, all that plays into just like the different experiences we had, I think.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. It's definitely harder, I think, for girls. I was always an outsider because I was an only child, and it was
Mhm.
my dad that came with me, and my mom stayed behind in Taiwan to make money. And in most immigrant kind of configurations, it's the opposite. It's usually the mom that comes here, the dad stays behind to make money and send over. So we had quite a unconventional household. I was also like not out and queer and also a goth. And so it was just a very difficult and rebellious childhood. And then having to learn English at like 9 years old. So I resonate with a lot with both what you said. Although I was a 90s immigrant kid when I immigrated
High
here in
five.
94. Yeah. But I was
Yeah.
also in the suburbs. I was in Port Moody. And so
okay,
that was
so
like,
a little
That's
bit
also
different.
different.
it's a little different, but we had more Koreans and
Mm.
quite a bit from Hong Kong as well. So I didn't feel quite as left out, but definitely still an outsider.
Yeah.
But you and David actually share quite a bit because of the East Van.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, I think sort of what I'm reflecting on too is like, growing up in elementary school in East Van, and then going to a high school in Shaughnessy. The race thing was very like, yes, tons of Asians, and the high school that I went to was like even like 95% Asian. But the class difference, though,
Yeah.
I realized how.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say we were not poor, but compared to the people that I went to high school with, there was a very, very big difference in like how, you turn 16 and everyone got a car, right? And a nice car too, like, a really nice car, right?
Mhm.
And then I came out and then sort of started going out into the queer scene, and then the race dynamics really shift again, where it's really sort of there's a lot of, um centering of whiteness, if you will, right? And then all of a sudden, I sort of the experience of being Asian was shifted again. So,
David,
yeah.
I love how you just conveniently jumped over your candy raver scene.
Right, and then I was a candy raver in
I
high
felt like we
school.
were all there once
Yeah,
in Vancouver in
yeah,
like the late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was the thing to do.
Exactly. Riverside? Oh, I know.
Oh yeah, Riverside Banquet Hall.
Yep.
Anyway, so how did you two meet? I want to hear
Whose
your
version do
story.
you want to hear?
Oh, well, both.
Both, yeah.
Both.
You tell your version.
I tell my version. Okay, so basically, I was scrolling through Instagram. This is actually very modern for us, like for
Wow.
someone, like I guess
So old school.
in our age group, right? Like in our age group, let's not
Yeah.
disclose, like how old
Yeah.
we are, but you could probably take a guess.
Yeah.
And I've actually built quite a big network in the city. So I, you know, like just know a lot of people from working, partying, or just like, you know, like in passing. And then one day I was just going through Instagram and I'm like, oh, who's this person kind of liking my photos? And then I kind of like, you know, did a little bit of internet sleuthing. I'm like, oh, she's kind of cute. And then no mutual friends, zero.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, who's this person? Is she new or is she? No, she's like, no, like it seems like she's been in Vancouver. And then I slid into her DM. And
Wow.
history.
Okay, and Pearl's version?
What's your version?
My version is I am like the opposite of Dickson. I like only can handle like 4 friends at any given time.
Yeah.
So I keep my circles really small and tight. But I had just come back from like a sabbatical in New York. I was there for like half a year, and I kind of got that like big city like inspiration when I came back, and I was like resuming my life in Vancouver as a freelancer. And I was like, you know what? I need to like break outside of my own bubbles. Like, you know how safe the Vancouver bubbles can get.
Yes.
Yeah.
My family is here. I grew up here. So yeah, I just literally opened Instagram, and you know how like they have suggested followers.
Yeah.
Like everyone follow everyone that I don't know. And yeah, this guy with his timing like was like, hey, you want to meet up for like a bite? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm like really down to meet people right now. And
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. Oh,
incredible.
And then a little side story too, because like I want to make sure, you know, as in a relationship, like I feel like the compatibility in certain things are very important.
Yeah.
One of them is food, right? Like how you approach the food is.
Yeah.
And so I kind of said, I'm like, hey, do you want to meet at Copa Cafe, like a Hong Kong style restaurant?
Nice.
And then if she's down, I'm like, all right, she's down.
That's
and
his test. If
Okay.
Kind of like okay, yeah, just like you know, if she's kind of like not down, then you know, like
can we share a bowl of whatever at
I think it was a baked pork chop rice that we had.
Well, it reminds me of Anthony Bourdain's test. His test is the Bunbo BBH. Bumbo yeah.
That's a good test too.
Yeah, it's a very good test.
What is that test?
One. There's, you know, pork blood. There's like a lot of foreign things in there. But
yeah, there's cube pork blood. There's like pork hock. There's like a lot of stuff, and it's spicy too.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very good. So I'm wondering if we could maybe just pivot to the Mao calendar, because I'm curious. You guys have a contribution in the entry.
We are
January.
Yes. Let me
one.
let me yeah, so that's Pearl's holding up the Mao calendar. So there are January contributors. Let me actually show there you go. I don't know if you can see this. So the
could you tell us about that entry or the contribution?
Yeah, of course. We were happy to participate when Elisa invited us to. And we thought this soup would be perfect for winter because we actually make it all the time. Dickson makes it for me because if you follow Chinese like medicine at all, he runs really hot and I run really cold. So I always need warming soups. And this one's like really easy, right? It's pretty straightforward and it's delicious and it's easy to drink and it's a nice way to get some like nutrients in.
Yep. And there's obviously many different versions of the ginseng chicken soup, and we
make different versions at home too sometimes because you can throw in additional herbs, but we kept it really like the basic, like easiest kind of foundation. For this share.
Okay, and it's available as a package, right? Like people can actually buy the soup and the calendar, right?
Yeah, so we thought it'd be really nice to like actually put together because I know it can be kind of overwhelming to go to those Chinese herbal shops. Even I'm intimidated because I don't speak Chinese that fluently. I don't know what I'm looking at. A lot of the herbs look very similar.
Yeah.
Or like buy the wrong thing. So I thought it'd be really nice for us to like actually put together the ingredients as
Nice.
featured in the recipe. So then right now we are offering it online for pre-sale for another week.
Cool. Nice.
And basically, this is just all the dried herbs that's been measured out. And then all you really need to do is add chicken and water.
Yeah.
And just
Amazing.
Oh.
So, and the chicken, it could be like a silky chicken. It could be chicken carcasses. It could be chicken bones. It doesn't, but if you have a whole chicken, then the meat that comes out, it could be a meal in itself too. So
Nice. Well, this is a good segue. We promised to do giveaways. So, and as you know, as you can tell, like food is a really big theme of what Jen and I do. So we are launching a contest. We're going to be giving away one of our Have You Eaten Today totes.
Nice.
And how you can enter is by resharing or reposting about the Mao Calendar on Instagram. So if you go to VALU CO-OP on Instagram, repost one of the Mao Calendar entries, and you'll be entered to win one of 3 tote bags, and also a free ticket to our Lunar New Year Symposium, which we're going to announce at the end of this episode. Oh yes, and make sure to tag us on our Instagram handle, which is on your screen right now, VALU CO-OP. I realized we didn't talk about Dicky's dumps.
I know. I was gonna ask actually, because what I actually want is like a summation of Dicky's dumps. The name Dicky's dumps, because it's amazing and hilarious, and it just really sticks with you. Like you'll never forget it. So I'm curious about the kind of the origin story of Dicky's dumps. And yeah, share with us, please.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a brief summary overview is I run District Local with a good friend of mine. It really began as a passion project, sharing like more grassroots events and arts and culture that we like to go to. We wanted our own hub for it and to share with our friends and beyond. And it grew from there to the point where, in 2016 and 17, I started thinking like, okay, how else can we connect and contribute to our community a little bit more? And that's also when I was really feeling like I wanted to really embrace our culture because, full circle again, like it's been a long time coming. So that's when we created Get Lucky Art Show for Lunar New Year. And we invited local artists to submit art on blank red envelopes that we gave them. Displayed that at Fortune Sound, ran the event on the Chinese New Year parade day, which was fantastic. Like just so many people, the energy was great. And adding to that programming, obviously food is a huge component of what we do. So I invited Dickson to run a dumpling bar. And that was really the genesis of Dicky's Dumps. Some of his good friends call him Dicky. We talk very casually. All his friends talk very casually. We always call them dumps. So that's it.
and also kind of reflects on, we don't really take ourselves too seriously. Like we do, but we don't. It's kind of like everything, in this hard life of ours. Why not make it fun? And it's also kind of like, it's kind of a silly name to begin with. So we're like, let's run with Dicky's Dumps, and here we are. So
cool. I'm curious because I love dumplings, and I've made dumplings before, but like I'm just curious like how you come up with recipes. How do you pick like what things go together? Because I just know like a really simple one from my grandma, like a pork, shrimp, some Napa cabbage, some chive.
You gotta have the wood year in there too. That's my favorite.
Yes,
the wood year and the vermicelli.
Similar to how hot pot, everyone has their own preferences.
Yeah.
With dumplings, they're very similar, but also like you can tweak it to your preference.
Yeah, because my problem has always been hard to, because I was raised vegetarian, and I continue to be a vegetarian because I'm Buddhist, and so it's hard to find like non-meat dumplings. And then if it is just vegetarian, it's quite skimpy. Like there's not a lot of ingredients in there. So that's always been my challenge with.
I know a guy.
You do? Okay.
Well, They have vegetarian dumplings, Jen.
Oh, okay. Well, I just
Yeah.
clearly I didn't do my homework.
Okay, that's what we're here for. So I don't know. I'll tell my part and you can chime in. Basically, we also are very particular. I'm very particular, and like I want the dumplings to be like really, really like a good dumpling that you want to eat and come back to time and time again.
Yeah.
And the problem with like, you know, like if you're making them at home, like a quick little batch, it's okay. Like you can throw in whatever you have. Now for a little bit more like integrity of the dumpling, if we're gonna, you know, sell it to people and like they're gonna keep it in their freezer for who knows how long, probably not too long. Those things matter, like what type of veg you use, like if it has too much water content, you know, everyone, like there might be like rookies who are completely new to cooking dumplings, and you don't want the dumplings to like lose integrity and like burst like way too easily. So we really had to tweak like each flavor so that like the texture was right, the flavor was right. It's still like a traditional flavor, but like also like so it's foolproof.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the gist of it, and it kind of goes back to, you know, what David mentioned. A lot of people's recipes are passed down from their grandmas to their mom, and then similar to me too, you know. And that was one of the things that we used to do for Chinese New Year's. Everyone gather around, make dumplings, and there'll be like all sorts of different shapes and whatnot. So one of the flavors that we had, obviously, it has to be like an original flavor that everybody gets, which is the pork and chives. And then from there, when we launched, we had two flavors, right? It was just pork and chives and this.
Pork was the original flavor.
Yes, that's right.
OG.
And then we want to do a seafood one, and a lot of seafood ones out there are also kind of skimpy too. Like,
and also we wanted to keep it truly seafood for the pescatarian friends in our lives. So that's why, you know, you see a lot of shrimp with a little bit of pork added just to like, bind it, but we kind of like really worked on it so that we wouldn't have to rely on that. So it's purely a seafood dumpling. So that's why you get like scallop in it, so because that adds a little bit of different texture compared to the shrimp. And that's actually my favorite.
Yeah, me too.
It's basically like it's similar because we put cilantro in it too, right? It goes back to the cilantro thing.
You have to like cilantro.
You have to like cilantro. There's no if you don't like cilantro, too bad, so sad. So that was like a shrimp scallop cilantro, and it does have a bit of a, you know, like a dim sum dumpling vibe to it.
I feel like it tastes like you can put it against any like shrimp and scallop like steamed dumpling that you get at a different restaurant. So
and then because, you know, we live in Vancouver, the request for a vegetarian dumpling was just overwhelming. It was kind of like, we can't do this anymore. We didn't want to do it
every other day. It'd be like, when are you making a veg?
So, you know, like we finally, and that took the longest to figure out because
exactly what you said. It's like we didn't want to skimpy. We don't want to like mushy, because I've tested a lot of vegetarian dumplings, and they were all like just missing something.
And we want to kind of stick true because, you know, like we tried a bunch of different veg dumplings on the market, and there's some really good ones, but there's a lot of modern ones where, you know, like it's like, well, there's like a chickpea fill or like we want to make ours as close to, you know, like an original Chinese dumpling. So we end up choosing the following 5 ingredients. So we got 2 types of mushrooms. We got a abalone mushroom. We got shiitake mushroom.
Of course.
So those provides, you know, the bite and the texture.
Meatiness.
We went with firm tofu also to add, you know, like the extra protein in there. We went with glass noodles, which is mung bean noodles. So, and then the last thing we have in there is chives, right? So chives, so it gives that, you know, when you bite in dumpling, you hit chives, you're like, okay, that's
it's a very familiar flavor.
Yeah.
It's like that brightness of chives. You just can't replace it. So like when you try to replace it with any other like dark green, like it's doable, but it's not quite the same.
And we decided to not use Napa too, because Napa creates a lot of moisture,
water,
right? And it's also the sweetness. Like we don't personally prefer the sweetness of the Napa. So we kind of omitted the Napa.
Like again, I said, like I think
Personal
when
preference.
you're making a fresh batch, like at home with a family, like I think that's a really good go-to.
Right.
But yeah, again, for just like like storage of our dumplings, I think this is what
No.
what we came up with.
Oh, fascinating. It's like this whole science and philosophy.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, everyone knows dumplings, everyone's made dumplings, but yeah, like we had to really nail it. It took a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the last flavor that we launched was like later in the stage, and this was like a personal one for me.
Mm.
And it kind of goes back to, you know, like paying homage to Chinatown a little bit, because everybody loves the Newtown buns, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
What do you like about you like the fill in the Newtown bun? You don't necessarily care for the bun; you just want the fill, right? Right. So, and one of the ones that I like there is the bola bola, which is like the big one.
Yeah.
So I like to call it the Chinese hamburger. There's, you know, you get one of those, you're full, right? Like there's
Yeah.
ham, there's
It's like
like
a breakfast
an egg,
bun.
there's like
Mm.
mushrooms, chicken, but that chicken fill, I want to capture that and then put it into the dumpling. And there's a lot of chicken dumplings out there, again, filled with like the Napa cabbage, and it's always like
Mushy.
mushy. It's like there's too
Can't
much
do it. I
cabbage.
can't do a mushy dumpling.
So we just went with a straight chicken ginger with a very similar, you know.
So
flavor
if you
profile.
try our chicken ginger, like, and then you think of the meat fill of the Newtown bun, I feel like
that's what that is.
we captured it pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, David, we're both very hungry now.
I know. Well,
so we're on the same page.
I've ordered the shrimp and scallop one, but now I need to try now I want to try the chicken and ginger one next.
Yes.
Maybe can you tell us where can people buy your dumplings?
You got this
Directly online from us, dickysdumps.com. And then we're also carried through Legends Hall, which is a home delivery service.
Okay.
A great one.
Yeah, lots of local curated Vancouver brands.
Really great products on there.
We have Juice Truck that carries our vegetarian dumplings.
And
Kokomo that also carries our vegetarian
dumplings.
dumplings. A lot of the Donnelly Group restaurants have our
including
dumplings.
Sing Sing on Main Street.
Sing
you can find our dumplings on their menu.
Yeah. And they have actually exclusive flavor on just their menu, which is just like a pork and shrimp one on there.
Oh, cool.
And our newest stock is Allison Brome ice cream up in
Squamish.
Squamish.
So you can get pints of ice cream and bags of dumplings there.
Yeah, so next time you stop by Squamish, check them out.
So excited. I was gonna ask about what your family thinks about your endeavors. Because Dave and I have this conversation all the time because we're like these weirdo artists. Our parents have no idea what we do. And we're certainly not your typical, like within the kind of the stereotypical Asian expectation of professions of like doctor, lawyer, engineer. And so I'm curious what your relationship to your family's like and what they think about your kind of artistic and entrepreneurial kind of endeavors.
I think my mother has given up trying to ask me because she's been so many years.
Yeah.
And she never understood, like even when I was freelancing, and she just couldn't grasp the concept. What do you mean you don't go to an office? What do you mean? Like everything is in your computer? Like who gives you the work?
Yeah.
So definitely I think she's just given up, and like if you know, like she'll ask like my siblings, like, is she actually okay? And then my older sister will be like, yes, she's fine.
Yeah.
And so she just has to accept that now.
Yeah.
I feel like my parents kind of, again, similar, like it wasn't a given up, but they kind of figured out what I was doing.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it. And just to give you a little background too, you know, Dicky's one of our main gigs. And then I also have another gig on the side too, which I'm in sales actually. And I represent a few, you know, lifestyle action sports, like brands like that. So my whole life been very kind of different from say your standard, like, hey, let's go to UBC and then let's finish and then come out, get a nice job, have kids. Like, so they kind of like figured that part out for me like a long time ago. And it wasn't until, you know, like I actually took them to my workplace and like, oh, you actually do have a job.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it was, I think they are pretty stoked, even though they don't say it, because as Asian parents do, they don't
Yeah.
express feelings, right?
Yeah.
That me and Pearl started this venture on.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they've been very supportive. Like
Yeah.
Dickson's parents, actually, both our parents came to some of our events at Fortune
Yeah.
before for Chinese New Year, which was like, I think, the most heartwarming
Yeah.
because, like, no matter what I tell her, what I do, like, aside from this, she'll never understand. But like them physically coming to our event,
Yeah.
where the
Yeah.
thought is bringing like 1,000 people together, and
Yeah.
like they were like happily paying money to eat our dumplings. Like, I think that was really exciting for them, and that was something tangible that they could witness for themselves.
Yeah, well, Jen, you and I were always also connect about this because I mean, my parents, they never pressured me into like being a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. Although they did say that they would prefer for us to have a profession because of the stability, right? They were very transparent about that. But no, they've been very supportive of like the sort of artistic direction that I've gone down. Although oftentimes, like I remember, I think Jen, we won an award for something, and I think the first thing my dad said was like, "But is there money? But was there money? Just be happy."
Yeah, I don't think we can ever shake that part.
No. Jen, your cat is out of control.
I know. So
No,
my cat, this
active.
is a bad time because this is when I normally feed her, and she knows to attack the plants and start threatening her life because these plants are poisonous. She knows she'll just like take a nib and starts biting them, and then that's when I'm like, stop it, and then I have to feed her. So it's
Very dramatic, I see.
She's Siamese. She's 11, so she deserves to be dramatic, I think.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I have a question that just came to mind when we were talking about food. What is your holiday, like your Christmas dinners look like? Because I've shared, like Jen, I've told you, like we do. My parents do like so Jen and I met. Jen used to run a program called Out in Schools. So we did anti-oppression or workshops in high schools, and one of the films was, what was it called? Peking turkey. And my parents used to do that, or sometimes we'll do that because none of us will eat the white meat of the turkey. So they'll make, so they'll roast the turkey so the skin is crispy, only serve the dark meat, and she would make like them. It was amazing. They'll like make some of the white meat into like the Peking duck kind of like lettuce wrap, and then you have my mom, and we'll have the scalloped potatoes, and there's no stuffing for the turkey because it dries out the turkey, right? and then like prawns and sticky rice and other like Asian stuff, so that we kind of like get the nostalgia from the Western food, I guess, that of being or whatever. But then we have to have all of the Asian stuff as well.
Of course.
I'm curious. Do you guys have an experience like that, or what do you guys do for?
Of course, 100%.
Yeah.
I'll start first because
go.
Growing up, and like we celebrated Christmas in Hong Kong, but like in a different way, right? You go for a Christmas dinner, and then you would go to TST, which is Sim Sasori, to like watch the Christmas lights on the buildings, and you get presents, and then that's your Christmas. Whereas where we moved here, my parents had some friends that are been living here for a while already, and obviously when we get invited to the Christmas, like, whoa, what's this big bird? Never seen it. Like, you only seen portions of it,
right,
but you never seen it in the whole. And then around will be like like the Chinese salad with like lots of mayonnaise and fruit, and then you have the fried rice, fried noodles. So I think that's a pretty common theme throughout a lot of the Chinese growing up in Vancouver, going through Christmas. There's always like some sort of and then as we got older, we actually stopped celebrating Christmas in terms of like as a family, because like we do see each other enough, and my parents actually like to hang out with their friends, and then same with us too. It's kind of like we like same, like kind of like doing like a Friendsgiving, doing like a friend's Christmas, and we would do potlucks, or sometimes I'll kind of cook all the things, and then and then now that being with Pearl, her sister's family, we celebrate Christmas that way. So again, came full circle because now we're doing that with the younger kids, and like it's versions of what we know from the past.
Yeah, I mean, we all have like similar, intersecting stories for Christmas holidays. I feel like when I was younger, we probably actually ate Chinese food for Christmas because the whole city shuts down. I don't think my mom knew what the traditional dishes were, and nor would she cook them. There were only 4 of us, so it's like, why would you make this giant bird? So definitely, I don't recall a lot of like traditional, like what you would know as Christmas dinner. Probably a lot of Chinese food, and then as we grew up as kids, I think we can pick and choose each year what we want to do, which is nice, right? So like some years, my sister and I usually like cook together, and we get bored, like, do we really need turkey? Do we really need, like, sometimes we'll have prime rib, but like even those things, like you have to switch it up, right? So well, some years we just really just go F it. We'll just like take out sushi, like a potluck of takeout.
Nice.
Call it a day. It's just a reason to get together.
I think that's the key thing. We've probably done a hot pot for Christmas.
Yeah.
But I do like that a lot of Chinese families that I know, sticky rice is like a staple of that holiday meal. Do you know where that comes from?
I don't know. We definitely.
It's not. I've
heard that for quite a few families. Maybe that's in place of stuffing.
Maybe
like symbolism. Maybe
I don't know. I just know
sticky
that
rice, the fam sticks together.
I'm pretty sure my dad has said that.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Well, because there's also that big winter holiday festival that comes a few days before Christmas, usually Zhoudong.
Yeah.
So you guys celebrate that? That's actually more important to Chinese families. Can you explain what Zhoudong is?
It's kind of like it's either like the middle of winter or like the first day of winter in the Chinese calendar.
Oh.
And that's when the family comes together.
That's when you're supposed to have your family.
And then this is the one prior to, like, the next one would be like Chinese New Year. That's kind of the next time the whole family together. So we still do that actually. I think
the beginning of winter.
Yeah, like it's usually like the 20th. I want to say the 22nd of December. Whether it's on the Chinese calendar, like I forgot, but like that's usually when like the fam gets together, and my parents, we still try to get together for some of those like important Chinese holidays where it's
there's a handful that are like musts,
like Mid-Autumn Festival, and then like the Chinese New Year, and then the Dragon Boat Festival. So things like that. So
What about you, Jen? I actually never asked you that question.
No, my parents are Buddhist. They're very, very simple people. And very like low key. They live with 6 cats in the suburbs in like a mountain in the middle of the forest. So they live a very meditative and serene life. That is the like opposite of mine. So the only holiday requirement to visit, like not even birthdays, they don't care about any of that stuff. It's so about non-attachment. But the only holiday they care about in terms of us gathering together is Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year. So that's the only one. And then even then, it's not like this gigantic feast. It's never something that I experienced kind of growing up. It's always the very humble, very simple, just like a few vegetarian dishes, lots of mushrooms, lots of tofu and tempeh and that sort of thing.
See, it's become, for my family, it's become a competition. Who's cooking the most complicated or like, whatever.
Well, so David's a Leo, and
as is my brother.
As is your brother. So there's quite a bit of
that's fun though.
Do whom.
That's what we did for COVID actually, the Christmas last year, because we weren't vaccinated yet, so we all cooked a dish and dropped it off at my parents' front steps, and we just kind of exchanged food, which was kind of a nice gesture. I'm looking forward. This is like the first, because the Christmas before I wasn't around neither, so I'm actually quite looking forward to
Have you
to
been
maybe
planning your dishes yet, or what? What's the
no, see, that's always a little dance too, you know. You gotta
yeah.
like see what it kind of hint, see if
Yeah.
you can get any hints of
Yeah.
what other people are gonna
Yeah.
make.
Yeah. So you can one up the other person.
Yeah.
But is anyone actually responsible for like a main, or are they just a bunch of like?
Kind of. I think I think I did the prime rib last year, and then my mom did a version of a turkey. And then I forgot what my brother did. Some seafood thing. So we do sort of negotiate to make sure we have.
You
But
don't
it
end
end,
up with 3 turkeys.
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
three turkeys.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Well, unfortunately, we have come to the end of
Oh, that
the
was so fast.
episode. It did
Yeah,
go
that
by
flew
really
by.
yeah, it did. It usually flies by. Any last words from Dickson and Pearl that you'd like to share with us?
Other than thanks for having us, happy hot potting.
Happy
Yeah.
hot potting, and we look forward to all the things that you guys are up to.
Cool.
And you know, whenever our paths can cross again and we can work together, that'd be great.
Great.
Let's.
Awesome. Thanks,
Don't
guys.
go anywhere. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Oh, we did it at the same time, David.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, you do it. We always do this. What do we have to announce again?
Well, we have a very, very special announcement.
my
We just
God.
dropped today an event that Jen and I have been organizing. So at the introduction, I mentioned the collaboration we've been doing with the Lim Association called Engaging Chinatown. Jen and I have also, through Love Intersections, been doing a lot of other art making and organizing on different, a couple of short films around different themes related to anti-Asian racism, Chinatown's diaspora. And so we've decided to sort of put together this 2-week art and culture symposium called Bitter Orientals. So Bitter Orientals, A Yellow Peril Unmasked is the name of the symposium, is a 2-week art and culture symposium in Vancouver's Chinatown, featuring an art exhibit, a Yellow Peril themed circus show. That's, yes, you heard that right, a circus show, sauce making, lion dance, drag, and a series of panels and film screenings that meditate on the themes of Chinatowns and labor organizing, archiving and memory, diaspora, spaces and places, queerness, and cultural belonging. The past 18 months have brought to the surface already existing Yellow Peril narratives, re-emerging again during the pandemic. We've seen Chinatowns and elders targeted by racial violence and vandalism. We've seen the rise of boba liberal organizing around Stop Asian Hate, demands for hate crime legislation, which is pro-police, pro-surveillance that harms Black and Indigenous communities. We've seen gentrification eating away the souls of Chinatowns and other BIPOC communities, seemingly with no end in sight. We are bitter, bitter Orientals indeed. So join us on February 5th to 19th next year as we ring in the year of the atmospheric water tiger. And stay tuned. We're gonna have we're gonna announce the full lineup and registration details and more details of the events in the new year.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
And I just saw a comment. Yes, this is being recorded on YouTube and Facebook. So if you just tuned in, the rest of the recording is on the Love Intersections or VALU CO-OP Facebook group, and also on the Love Intersections YouTube channel as well. So
we're just all over the place. Thank
We're
you,
all over the
everyone,
place.
for tuning into the special edition of Hot Pot Talks. Have a wonderful night. Bye.